This clip's brought to you by ServiceNow. AI is only as powerful as the platform it's built on. With the ServiceNow AI platform, your AI, data, and workflows all work together, connecting every corner of your business. To see how you can put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com/AI-agents.
I want to kind of analyze this Sinner thing and just belabor the point that all the what ifs after the 2 or 3 years that we've seen from Sinner, when he loses to the most accomplished tennis player of all time, and then loses a random match somewhere, and it's like, oh, are we in crisis? Stop. There's nothing wrong with Jannik Sinner. We said this last week. We'll say it this week. Comes back, but you will say more than Alcaraz, who had a little momentum going, getting back into the winner's seat. Big deal for him, right, John?
He has. I saw one thing saying he has not won a tournament going into Indian Wells in 2026. Guys,
he's played two.
It's March 13th. Honestly, I thought this was about as good a tournament as he could have hoped for. I mean, he hadn't won this event before. Remember last year he wasn't eligible to play. He beat kids, he beat veterans, he won handily, he won matches and breakers, he gutted it out in the final, didn't lose a set. I mean, this was not that he needs to make statements at this point in his career, but that was really a solid. That's a really nice win for him, and he's got to be thrilled going to Miami, where remember, I mean, he's kind of sort of the defending champion. Didn't play last year, and he won it the previous year. So I think we need to all. It's fun, and it makes the world goes fast, and it's social media catnip. But some of these swag. We talked about sample size with Sabalenka. Sample size of Sinner lost 2 tournaments in a row is silly, and now he's won one tournament in a row.
He's 13-2 this year.
Yeah,
he's 13-2 this year.
You think he's going to be okay? You think he'll be all right?
So one of the things that's interesting to me, because we talk about Carlos and how his game can adapt to every surface, and that's absolutely true, right? But now we're looking at Sinner's body of work, okay? And for a year and a half ago, it was like, oh, give him like a fast hardcourt and he's the guy. Now, I don't know if that's changed. Like, does one match, against Novak change that? I probably don't think so. But now let's look at where he's won, right? It was 1 point away from winning the French Open when he's never even won a Masters 1000 on clay.
1 point away. Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't comfortable, like going into Wimbledon last year, like, I don't know if grass is his best surface. As good as he moves on a hard court, maybe not the case on grass. I was wondering that, right? Wins there. Has won World Tour finals on a low bouncing kind of quick court that kind of the ball skids and is fast. Obviously, he's won a million outdoor hardcourt events. Indian Wells is different. The way the ball travels is different. It can get up out of the zone. Like, it's one of the few tournaments where if you're going against Jannik Sinner, you're going, oh, I might actually be able to access a hit point outside of his strike zone, which, I say sarcastically goes from his ankles to the tip of his cap. But if you're like lining up places to play Jannik Sinner, not saying that this is a good place, just saying, oh, I could maybe try to convince myself in one way, shape, or form that there is an option here that would make him more uncomfortable than other surfaces. If we talk about someone as being complete, we have to match it on the other side with his victories in places that play a lot differently. Not a lot from Indian Wells, besides his ball just, bouncing off the court itself. You would look at, oh, I'm flat, I get first strike, I play through the court. Indian Wells isn't that place for those types of players. So for him winning in a bounce back win, because we just discussed what a horrible year he's had so far. Listen, we have to kind of call it all the same way. He's winning everywhere on every surface and problem solving in different ways. And Indian Wells, if anyone needed that reaffirmed, did that. Does this matter maybe more than even winning in Miami, where we know that he can win on a fast, low bouncing court, John?
That's good. And the not only is the surface in theory more to his liking, but also the conditions aren't as variable. Mike, you were saying before, he's now won every, is this right? He's won every hardcourt major. I mean, he's won every hardcourt Masters 1000, right?
Yeah. Since 1990, since the Master 1000s were invented, he is now the youngest to complete the hardcourt set, as they call it. So he's age 24. I think Fed did it at 30. Novak did it at 31. But that's winning Indian Wells, winning Miami, winning Canada, winning Cincinnati, winning Shanghai, winning Paris. all hard courts, which, to the layman, exactly what you were just talking about, Andy, you're like, oh, hard court, they're all the same. But they're not. It's completely different. And I think that's such a fascinating point that you just made to give that stat itself even like deeper perspective.
Yeah, but also like we get lazy sometimes. We're like, oh, it's hot in Indian Wells. It was 97. It's hot in Miami. It's so different.
It's hot in Cincinnati.
The air is like desert air where the ball floats and you kind of have to adjust. Miami is swampy and you kind of have to hit through it. So like the heat ain't the same. The air is all different. These are all these adjustments that you have to make. And he's proven time and time again. And I think, Indian Wells victory just puts a little bow on this for Jannik Sinner. The other part about that stat that you just read, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, is that Medi, had he won that match, would have had the same stat. He would have been the youngest to have ever won all of those Masters 1000s on a hard court. So that is cool. I want to get to even more stories from Indian Wells and not just the winners. Medvedev, man, he's had a month, JW. I mean, winning in Dubai and then planes, trains, automobiles. Is he going to get to Indian Wells? Is he going to be able to play once he gets there? He played.
Yeah, if you want to psychoanalyze this, I wonder how much, and people, now it's sort of become this joke, and it took so long to get out of the country and tell us the story. This is serious business, though. I mean, this was not a joke 2 weeks ago when he was, trying to get to Jeddah and trying to get to Riyadh. Psychoanalyze this with me. I wonder if part of this, a small part perhaps, is house money. This is like a wild card. He gets there, he's playing, and suddenly he's had this travel adventure. Here he is. He didn't know if he'd make it. He's in the draw. Some pressure is off. But no, I mean, last year we talked about him and some of his struggles, and a member of the camp, it was very cordial, but they sort of said, you don't understand. He's got this groin problem, and it's affecting his serve. It's really affecting his game. When he gets this sort of groin healthy, he'll be back. Don't read too much into these defeats. And I think sometimes we do gloss over. We say, oh, it's a bad loss. And then you find out later, oh, he had trouble lifting his arm above his shoulder. So in the case of Medvedev, yeah, he had a very strong fall. Sort of had the learner teen problem in Australia, and now he's back. And that win over Alcaraz, you want to know, this is a little bit of a digression, but crazy stat. Players born in the 1980s, yourself included, accounted for 80 major titles. Players born in the 1990s accounted for 2. And he's one of the He's the one active one, him and Dominic Thiem. That's crazy, right? Anyway, point being, there's something generational here, but let's not forget, this guy not that long ago was winning hardcourt majors and got to number 1 and got to the finals in Australia, and now he's back. He mounted, that win against Carlos is probably about as good a win as he's had in, I'm thinking, years. And then
it's as good a win as he's had since he beat Jannik Sinner at Wimbledon 18 months ago.
I'd contest that.
21 months ago. But I'm just saying, like, this isn't a crazy result. He beat Alcaraz at the Open a couple years ago.
That's my larger point, which is like it's been a wild year, and a year ago he's struggling. He's had a groin injury. It's better, but my point is this is a class guy. I mean, this is a primo tennis player we're talking about. So great tournament for him. Again, it's been a hell of a March for him. But I think it's not unlike, actually the real similarities between the men's and women's events here. But, Jannik Sinner wins, Jannik Sinner back on the board, and a nice 7-6, 7-6 gutty final. I don't think anyone's going home disappointed if you're Medvedev. And, Sinner's back, but I think, tell me if I'm overstepping here, but did Medvedev not call you at some point last year for some counsel? Do you want to go there?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I asked him specifically, and he said, "Yeah, whatever. You can talk about anything." He basically just called. I got a call after he had lost at the U.S. Open last year, and I think at that point, I would guess, and this is all my guess, right? So this isn't, but as the way that things shook out afterwards with splitting from Gilles Savard, who, by the way, did an amazing job with Medvedev for a decade or more. So let that rest here before we get on to the changes. It felt like he was just kind of seeking outside advice, from whoever. And so we talked. I remember sitting in the Players Lounge of the U.S. Open. I was in a corner just sitting on the floor, and we were chatting on the phone. And he's like, "Well, what do you think? What do you see?" And I said, "Listen, you're very good at your patterns, but you've been playing the same patterns for a decade, right?" And I said, "Easier said than done. I don't know what the solution is, but do you, he was saying like, I feel like guys are hitting bigger, and I feel like I have the urge to try to hit it bigger to do that. I'm like, I don't know that that's your skill set, right? Is there a way for you to be aggressive without just swinging harder? Right. And so I remember we've referenced the Stan Wawrinka inside out backhand. If you're playing defense in the forehand and you're back in the middle of the court, guys are just going cross court on your backhand, which you have the best cross court backhand, one of the top 5 I've ever seen. But if it's predictable, these guys can hit the pitch. Is there a way where you shove it inside out? Is there a way where you just go nuts and munch one forehand just to keep people honest? And basically just thinking through different ways where there can be aggression without being irresponsible in changing stroke production. And so, who knows what lands, but I'm guessing I wasn't the only call that he made, right? So credit to him for, sometimes it's really hard when you've been successful doing one thing and playing a certain way for a long time, finding that mix of adjustment at close to, at 30 years old and implementing new things, or going to a former slam winner in Thomas Johansson and saying, okay, what do you think? What adjustments can we make? And I give him credit for at least curiosity. I don't know if one thing I said was of any value, but I do know that when you go and get some sort of feedback, if you hear the same thing from 5, 6, 7 people that, have played and maybe you respect, there's something there, right? There's going to be something there. So credit to him for not being afraid to change things, not getting back. And I like that you made the point about injuries and we don't know what people are carrying. I don't know, I know for a fact, I talked to Zverev at the end of last year too. He was a mess physically last year. And so it does take a certain type of thing, after Australia last year, he said his year, he said by my standards, it was very disappointing. Right. And also he didn't talk us through, a back injury he was carrying all year, week to week. Some people need to get it out. It's like a pressure release valve. Some people will have a press release 3 days after they lose, even though they're not playing. And some people kind of choose not to talk about it. So to your point, we don't really ever know what's going on. More so than House's money though, JW, with this Indian Wells run by Medi, I put a lot more stock in, I'm going to claw my way back to some sort of form in the fall. I'm going to win straight out of the gate in Australia. Obviously, the matchup with Tien is not one that he likes. But then dominating in Dubai, I put a lot more stock in form. Like, it feels like House's money a lot more if you beat everyone 2 and 3 in Dubai for a week. You know what I'm saying? So, like, credit to him for something's wrong. I need to figure it out. The majors are definitely not going the way that I want them to last year. I don't think he made it past the second round of a major, if I'm not mistaken. Let's figure it out. And I might need to wholesale change something that has already delivered me a slam, the number 1 ranking. And you said he made he made 5 finals, if I'm not mistaken, of majors outside of the one that he won. It's not like he just dipped in and dipped out. Like, this consistent presence in, the last 48 hours of majors for 7 years. And oh, by the way, beat Novak Djokovic on a hardcourt to win his only major title. So he knows how to play tennis, and it's not wholesale changes all the time when things aren't going well. It's these little spots of like, can I bully someone to the forehand side? Can I switch directions? You're not going to beat Carlos Alcaraz to point backwards to the conversation that Medi and I had by being predictable. You're just not. There has to be something that's going to keep Carlos a little at bay, where you have to kind of cat and mouse him a little bit and then at least threaten the blowback. I saw him beat Carlos at the Open a couple years ago during a night session, which was a huge upset, at least to the public, maybe more so than the locker room. But every forehand that came his way in the first, however many sets, he was taking huge swings line, which is not what Carlos anticipates when you're playing Medvedev. But getting when to be aggressive, when not, but not like kind of overplaying. He's never going to have the forehand that has the RPMs of like a Casper Ruud. So you can't do that. Like, people are like, be more aggressive. It's like, no, how are you more aggressive? Zverev, are you just going to take pot shots on your forehand? No, you're going to like hit and come in or serve and volley. There's different ways to be aggressive, but they have to fit inside of the framework of your stroke production.
To beat Alcaraz on that court, I mean, this is someone who's always diminishing himself. That's a big win. I forgot about that. You're right. I mean, he beat Alcaraz when Alcaraz was defending champion at the Open. But no, can we all agree just the sport's in a better place when Medvedev is playing at this level?
Listen, I didn't agree with him on the hindrance thing. I think he knew.
Yeah.
I think he knew that he fucked it up.
I don't think he agreed with him. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he agreed with him.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Are we like more or less entertained? Listen, I'm not going to excuse bad behavior, but the thing that I like and the reason why, and they'll get on me like you defend Medvedev. I'm like, no, he says he fucked up before any of us can say he fucked up. Like he was at the net with Draper and Sean. Tell me, like you said it. You said it well before we got on air, but he was basically like, I didn't like it. How'd that go?
He goes, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, Draper was like, I don't feel great about what you did. And Medvedev was like, I don't feel good about it either. Or some version of that. You know, I don't know. It's better when he's in. Even when he messes up, he'll tell you he messed up. Most of the time. I'd say more than, 99% of tour. But, I mean, he's back in there. You know, he was out. He was 20 after the Open last year. Right back in.
Yeah.
I don't know what his ranking is after Indian Wells.
Well, also he ain't defending much either. But no, I think nice to have someone from the 90s making a run, holding down the decade. We love the 90s.
Yeah, along with most fashion trends.